What's goody? I am Queen G22, Ninja Turtles gaming, geek stuff, and travel. And hello, Dragon Quest III, the 2 HD remake. Holy bro. Okay, so my thumbnail, I said, let this be a warning. This is a warning because look, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into. And so if you are looking at this because you are thinking of getting into Dragon Quest, this is my warning to you. Not necessarily a bad thing because I finished the game and I wouldn't have finished it if I didn't want to finish the game, right? So I finished it, but yeah, this was different for me. So how did I get here real quick before we jump into my initial thoughts of Dragon Quest III? Because remember, I'm not really good at reviews. Like, I don't know exactly what to review. Like, if you guys want to put in the comments like, hey, you should talk about this too in your game stuff, please let me know, because basically this is just my thoughts on after beating a game. And first off, I'm very proud that I stuck with Dragon Quest III because midway through, I was thinking, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this. So what I did was, this is what happened. This is how I got started into this. I have never played a Dragon Quest game, period. And so when Nintendo announced that they were remaking Dragon Quest III, it intrigued me. And I saw other YouTubers that I follow and that I trust that do RPGs were talking very highly of the Dragon Quest series, and they were talking highly of the remake. So I was like, okay, well, let me see what all the hype is about. And I probably should have watched more of the interview. I mean, their reviews. I didn't want to spoil my experience or, you know, be swayed to think a certain way with getting information that wasn't my own at first. So I wanted to play Dragon Quest III as if it was back in the day and we didn't have the resources that we have today, such as like YouTube and the internet to help guide you through some stuff and give you tips and tricks. Like, I wanted to experience this like completely brand new, and that's what she said. So if I'm not mistaken, Dragon Quest III originally released for the Famicom in 1988, y'all. 1988, I was 6 years old. And then in 92, it released for North America. So that would have meant that I was anywhere between the ages of like 6 and 10, possibly playing this game. And let me tell you, at 6 and 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I would not be playing this game. This was an adult game or a very highly sophisticated kids game because I got stuck. And there were a lot of things that I probably, if I had researched and took the time, would have made the game easier for me. I did research or maybe I didn't, but I thought that I read somewhere that it said that this game should take about 40 hours. Not for me. It was not 40 hours. It was fucking 85 hours is what I put into this game. And it was a freaking grind. Now, I know I'm coming off aggressive and it's just because it was just a lot that I wasn't ready for. But overall, did I enjoy the game? I did, because it was challenging enough to make me want to figure this stuff out, and not too challenging where I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do this, because since 2022, every game that I've started, I've beaten the game, and I've made that a thing of mine. That if I start the game and I decide to commit to it, I'm gonna finish it. And I really thought that Dragon Quest III was gonna be the first game where I was like, you know what, this, I'm trying something else. But I didn't, I stuck with it. And so the reason why I started with Dragon Quest III, why it was my introduction, is because as I read that Dragon Quest III is the prequel to 1 and 2. And then after you beat Dragon Quest III, it actually says at the end that Nintendo is working on the remake for Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Real quick, some of the things that I heard, right, that I listened to, because remember, I never played this game originally when it came out for Famicom and Nintendo. I didn't play these games, but I'm hearing that they added a new class, which is the Monster Wrangler class, which is actually a very important class. If I'm going to give any tip, I just happened to pick that class on my own. I didn't know until after I beat the game that that's probably one of the best classes that you can have on your squad. I mean, I'm sure if you play the game correctly and get everything that you need, you can beat it with other classes. But the Monster Wrangler class is a new class, and it is a very good class to have. They also added character customization customization, which I thought was pretty neat on how you wanted your characters to look. So it kind of gives you, you know, a little bit more personal touch on your characters, which I enjoyed. The style of your character, the hairstyle, the skin, the hair color, you know, the whole type of 2D look, you can change that. So that was another thing that they added. And then something with the boss at the post gameplay, which let me tell you, when I researched and saw that you needed to be level 99 to respectively beat the boss at the post game, after you beat the game, no, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that, dude. I'm not one of those people that has to 100% something to feel accomplished. Once I see the credits, if I beat the game, I beat the game. I'm good. Okay, so let's get into my Reader's Digest review of Dragon Quest III, the 2 HD remake, which I played on Nintendo Switch. We are going to start with the technical side of the game. So even with this being my first time playing this game and being introduced to the Dragon Quest series through this game, I thought it looked absolutely beautiful. The graphics and the art style of the 2 HD look, like, you know, Octopath Traveler type of look, was absolutely stunning because you have this 2 HD look, but the backdrops and the back views were just, they were gorgeous. Like, I thought Nintendo did a fantastic job with bringing the stuff that was happening in the background, just bringing it to life. Like, there's a couple times where I was going through castles and stuff like that where I made sure I walked very slowly because I was just enjoying looking at the beautiful stuff that was going on in the background. Now, as far as like the technical hard part of like crashes and stuff like that, I didn't have any problems on Nintendo Switch. I did hear some people say that they had a few issues playing the game on Steam. I wouldn't know. I don't play a lot of Steam. I played my game on Nintendo Switch and it was absolutely perfect every single time I played it. Also, the translation. So I did notice while reading, you know, the captions of what was going on that some of the sentences seemed kind of funny. And that would just be like a translation issue. Could you understand what they were trying to convey? Absolutely. So I didn't think it was a big deal. Let's talk about difficulty. So I thought the game was hard. I thought the game was hella freaking hard. And they have 3 levels, right? They've got different names for each, but there's basically an easy mode, a regular mode, and a hard mode. And I played it on regular mode because I'm not gonna start the game off assuming I'm gonna be a bitch. So I wanted to give it like a regular shot. And okay, so the game wasn't hella hard, but it was hard. Like, there were a few bosses and just a few monsters that were just giving me a difficult time. And one of the big reasons why it was difficult for me, it was because I did not fully understand the use of everything, items and equipment, spells and stuff like that, the whole tactics thing. I did not have a full grasp on what the hell was going on, probably until I was about 50, 60 hours deep into this game. Because you can start the game, I mean, you can start a fight with just like, kind of like auto, right? Where you basically, you tell the game exactly how you want your people to fight because you have a team, and it will auto fight it for you. But let me tell you, 60, 70 hours freaking deep when I get to these bosses and I'm realizing this is not working, that I had to take control of every single person on my team. I wish I had learned that earlier in the game so that I could have built stronger attributes around different things. See, I didn't learn that until the end of the game, and that's probably why it took a little bit longer for me to get through it, because I had to go back and grind in order to get prepared for this boss. And then I would learn that my level-wise of my characters were strong enough, but I wasn't using the right strategy in order to beat the freaking boss. So I figured that out a little late in the game, that there's a lot of stuff going on, and it really helps a lot if you understand every single person's or character's type of strength and what they're good at. Then it will really help. See, some games and other games in the past, you kind of learn that along the way, right? It's just kind of something that you just figure out as you're playing. But with Dragon Quest III, the 2 HD remake, no, it was either something that you knew from playing it game in the past, or it was something that you learned from watching people YouTube it. But most of the game, I could put the game freaking on auto and let them fight and I was fine. But then I would get to a boss and it was like, this isn't gonna work. So I was like, wow, okay, I have a whole lot more to learn. However, I probably would not have enjoyed the game as much if I had played it on easier mode, because it would have been too easy and then I just would have flew right by it, right? Even though, you know, I did like the dialogue and the story. And then of course, if I probably had played it on the freaking hard mode, I would have quit the game. I wouldn't have finished playing that game at all, that game was hard. But as far as difficulty wise, if you are prepared for what kind of game this is going to be, then I think you can help decide what kind of difficulty it is. And one of the things that I was not prepared for was the amount of puzzles and strategic stuff that you had to do in this game. Like I said before, I'm not a puzzle person. I don't do puzzles. My brain is not set up for puzzle type stuff. Like I think enough during the day that when I want to play games, I don't want to have to think like too much. I mean, I want to think a little bit, but I don't want to think to the point where I'm stressing myself out. So I'm not gonna lie. I had some puzzles where I had to go on YouTube and I was like, dude, just tell me how to get through this because I'm not gonna figure it out. So let's talk about the story. So I always say I am a big fan of a good story, and that is really what draws me into an RPG, and an RPG that will resonate with me is one where I understand the story, I think it's a good story, and then, you know, you're learning a little bit about your characters and stuff like that. So this game, compared to the other games that I've spoken about, this game doesn't really dive deep into your other characters, but it does have a story and it does tell you why you're doing what you're doing. So basically you get summoned by the king and your job is to take over this evil dude that your father attempted to take out. And so that's how the story starts. And I guess that's how it really starts since you're playing the freaking prequel. So yeah, it's like your basic typical RPG story where you are off to take out the evil monster or thing or whatever, like every other story. It's your typical RPG. And then along the ways, right, you have your quests. And we all love our side quests. Unlike my last review that I did for Unicorn Overlord, which I thought was freaking amazing, where I thought the game was heavily relied on the side quests, Dragon Quest III does not heavily rely on the side quests. You're gonna get a lot of good stuff out of the side quests that you do, but it's not kind of like you kind of go off and do them. I mean, a little bit you can, but for the most part, you are staying online for the main quest. And then the main quest will divert you into a couple of side quests here and there because it's going to help you take out the main quest, but it's not kind of like you just dabble off and do things on your own. It's not that kind of thing, but you know, you go off, you do your side quests, you get items, you get equipment, you get money, talk to people. There are a little bit of side stories. One side story that is based upon one of the people that you could have on your team. So that was pretty neat. I enjoyed that story, but overall, you're basically just staying on point with your main story. And then I do like how they have some points where there are some things that you have to do at night versus there are some things that you need to do at the day. And then of course, there's only some things that you can complete during the day, or some people who you can only talk to certain people at certain times a day. There is a freaking town, or you know, one of those, yeah, towns or islands or whatever, places where you can go into town and, you know, rest and heal and all that kind of stuff. But there's one where they're ghosts, right? It's been completely ran through, and so you can only go see them at night, and I thought that was really cool. All right, so let's talk about the gameplay. So basically, you've got like a few things going on. You've got your personalities, and I'll keep it 100 with you too. That is something else that I did not get a full grasp on until way late in the game. And I saw freaking YouTube videos coming up where the titles were, "This is why personalities are important." But like I said, I wanted to go through the game as if this was like completely brand new and I would figure it out. I didn't really figure it out, but let me tell you, different personalities helps out a lot. You've got your different classes. So the classes are cool, right? Because you can switch out the type of people that you want on your team. Your healers, your warriors, your monster wranglers, your thieves, all kinds of stuff. And then the nice thing about that too is that you can switch them out depending on what you need and, you know, who you don't need on the team at the time, depending on where you're at. So that's nice. Items, there's a whole bunch of items, stuff that you can get. And that was another thing that I didn't figure out until midway in the game. So you purchase these items, right? And you have an item bag. Okay, so when you purchase the items, you can put them in your item bag, which is accessible to everyone on your team, or you can put the items on each person. So I did not know that if you don't have the item on you or on that person, you cannot access that during battle. So I had all this shit in my item bag, and then when it came to like do stuff in my battles, I was like, how come I can't access this stuff? And I'm watching other people fight on YouTube and they have all these items, and I was like, holy shit. Okay, okay, so I get it, right? You can only hold so many items on each person, then you have your item bag for like overflow stuff and whatever. So items are actually very important and very, very helpful, but make sure that if you want to use it during a battle, you have it on you. You also have your different kinds of equipment, and that was another thing that I wish I had figured out, because different equipment will give you different strengths, right? So naturally, from playing like other games, I only want the strongest equipment in my bag. Like, why am I carrying around shit that I don't need or is not that strong? Well, come to find out, certain equipment are more effective against certain bosses or certain monsters, regardless of the level of strength and defense and all that kind of stuff, agility. Sometimes you just need a certain piece of equipment, which would have been nice if I had knew that earlier in the game. Now that I really didn't figure out till I was like at my third to last boss, and I was like, why can't I beat this game? Why can't I beat this guy? And I look it up, and they were saying like, well, this is the best equipment to use for this boss, even though it's like 20 points. It gives you 20 points less in defense. That's why I got rid of it, because I thought I wanted to keep getting stronger, not knowing that, hey, I might actually need this in the future. So the more you know. And then you've also got abilities and spells. And so they kind of sound like they're the same thing, but they're not, because some spells will work on certain creatures and bosses and some won't. And some abilities will just be better to use on certain creatures and bosses that you can't use spells on. But both abilities and spells take up your MP, which I think is your magic power. So, I mean, good Lord, dude. It was a lot, but I will say once I figured it out, I felt really good about myself. Like, you know what? I am kind of smart. Like, I felt really accomplished. And then the last thing that's important is money, right? You always need money, and that's how you're gonna purchase better items. Now, you can also find stuff along the way on treasure chests and stuff like that. But if you need to go back and get something, certain towns carry certain items and certain equipment, and the only way to purchase that is if you have the money to do so. And how do you get money? You get money by fighting. So this game is not an open world game, but it is like a large map, and you can freely move around as long as you can get there however you can get there, whether you're on foot, whether you're on a boat, or whether you're on a freaking bird, which also took me forever to figure out. But it is a fairly large map, and there is a lot to see, and you can go to a lot of different places on your own. But for the most part, you know, your main quest is going to show you where you're at, and that is something that I really thought was very helpful with Dragon Quest 3, because remember I said in other videos, one thing that is very frustrating for me is if I don't know where I'm going. Like, tell me where I need to go. So in Dragon Quest 3, if you can find it on the map, there's like yellow circles, and they'll tell you, hey, this is where you need to be in order to complete your objective on your main quest. They've also got like a little like different things that you can do along with your main quest. And an important thing, which is very helpful, is I think it's called the Chimera Wing or something, and that helps you fast track to other places that you've been. But also your hero, actually, you know what? No, I'm not gonna say that, because you should know that, or you'll figure it out. But you can fast track along the map to get to different places. They've even got things where you can fight the monsters that you've collected, and you can bet on them in order to make more money. And the more monsters you collect, they actually help out your monster wrangler. So there's a lot of little different things going on within Dragon Quest 3 that I thought was really cool, just in case you're getting burned out a little bit doing the main quest or these side quests, and you just need like a break and you just want to do something else. Dragon Quest 3 has got like a few like other stuff that you can do to keep you engaged in the game, which I thought was nice. So let's talk about the combat. So this is a turn-based RPG, and it's got like different ways that you can fight. First off, since it is turn-based and everyone has a turn, one thing that I really liked is that in the corner you can decide how fast you want the turn-based to go, right? If you just want to like whoop 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 and get through it, you can put it on ultra fast and it'll can just go hella fast. Or if you want to see exactly what's going on, what type of damage was taken, what your opponent used, then you can slow it down to regular. So I liked how they had that option, because sometimes, you know, while you're grinding, you just want to just go through it, and them having that option I thought was really nice. So you can assign tactics, and you can assign how they fight. Now this is what I was talking about earlier, what I was like, why didn't I know this earlier? This is very, very helpful. So you can tell your whole team, or you can tell one person at a time how you want them to fight. If you want them to use magic magic power, if you don't want them to use magic power, if you only want them to focus on healing, or which a very important one, which I learned later, is if you are going to tell them exactly what to do. Because if you assign them, like there's one that I was doing really good where it's called Show No Mercy. And that means that basically they're going to try to use their strongest attribute, whether it's just a regular attack, abilities, or spell, whatever. That is what they're going to use every time. So a lot of the times while I was going through the game, I just had it on Show Mercy. Let's just figure it out. But as you get to other bosses that are a lot stronger and you need to do different things, you can't just hit them with full force. You got to use magic. You have to defend. You need to focus on healing. It will allow you to decide how you want your fighting tactics to be. And it's actually, it's very detailed and very helpful because you can do groups of people doing the same type of stuff, or you can do one person. And I just thought that was really neat once I figured it out later down the line, because I just assumed that if I'm going to show no mercy, I'm going to do my strongest thing, I should beat the boss's ass, right? No, it didn't work that way. Like, there's a lot more thought in this game than I thought there was gonna be. But again, it was a learning experience and I did enjoy it. And I think that is a really key point of the game, is realizing you can probably just beat most of the creature's ass, but once you start to get to those bosses towards the end, you gotta learn, you know, their strengths and their weaknesses, everyone on your team, their strengths and their weaknesses, and how to use everybody at the best way as a team to attack these bosses. Because these bosses, even though it's turn-based, some of these bosses will have 2-3 turns back to back. So if you're not prepared for that, it is a freaking problem. So overall, right, in conclusion, dude, what did I think about this game? Oh gosh. First off, I'm glad that it's over right now, because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get through this game, but I did enjoy it. Like I keep saying, I enjoyed the challenge. I will be more prepared for when Dragon Quest 1 and Dragon Quest 2 comes out, the remake, now that I understand what type of game this is and the type of strategies that's behind it and how to use the tactics, how to use the items, how to use the equipment. I will, unless they completely changed it up, which I hope that they didn't, I should be much more prepared for this. So I liked it, right? Because I finished the game. Like I said, what are my favorite things in an RPG? I want to make sure I enjoy the story. And yes, I very much enjoyed the story. I enjoyed learning, you know, how to play this game. I did, even though it was frustrating at times, I did enjoy the challenge. I enjoyed the artwork, and I thought the game was absolutely beautiful, especially for a 2D game, right? The 2 HD look was really just superb. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I didn't say a whole lot about the music, but the music was, you know, it was all right. It was a good vibe, especially depending on where you're at and setting the mood and the ambience on the type of feeling. A lot of the music was redundant, but it was still, you know, it had a nice little melody. So I liked that. So overall, the way that Nintendo remade it, I thought that was a fantastic way to get to experience, you know, an older game, especially in a game that I missed out. But I would tell you, I mean, if that game came out in the late 80s, in the early 90s, I was not gonna learn how to play that game. I was still playing with my Ninja Turtles and Barbies. You know, I wasn't thinking about this type of puzzle shit. But if you were, I guess if you were an adult in your late 80s and late 90s or late teens or even mid-teens, then maybe, yeah. But me, and you know, 10 years old and younger, no, I wasn't. I was still worried about boys having cooties and my brother, you know, touching my Ninja Turtles. Like, keep your hands off my toys. Like, that's what I was concerned about. So overall, yes, I thought it was a really good game. I'm very much looking forward to the remakes. I'll definitely play that. If you've played this game, or if you have any points or tips or anything like that that you'd like to say, go ahead and put that in the comments. I'm gonna know if there is any Dragon Quest fans in here watching this video. I'm Queen G22.